Hi, how you guys doing? Well, at least it's a little quiet around here. I want to do this video about Alexander O'Neill, my experience with him, because I've always spoken so much about videos. I've always made so many videos about how rough things were in the business and how I wasn't happy with a lot of things, but this was not one of those experiences. This was really an incredible thing. It was the beginning of my career. And it started with Alexander O'Neill coming to Toronto. And he was just fresh out of the studio with Jam and Lewis. And this album was going to take off, needless to say, Hearsay. It's going to be huge. I was working in a club downtown Toronto, Club Bluenote. And somebody came in and everybody was like wondering, who's that? Because Alexander was like 6'4", so he has a very striking figure. When he came in with some people, he looked important. He smelled important. The whole vibe was important. He was a star, definitely. I was on stage at the time, so you really can't see much from the stage when somebody comes in the door. When I got off the stage, I guess what he was doing was, I don't know if he was looking around for some background singers or whatever, but I know my manager approached him. So by the time I got off stage, Alexander was seated, and, he was having champagne and meeting people, and immediately as soon as I came up, he introduced himself and he said, "I want you to come on the road with me," just like that. Again, I didn't know really who he was because I was too busy gigging and stuff. But word got around very quickly that this guy was going to be like the next big everything, the next big Otis Redding, the next great singer, Al Green, Marvin Gaye, you name it. And he delivered. He delivered more than that, because he was not just a balladeer and a torch singer, but he was like, like he was one of the funky guys. So it was really, really cool. I was nervous to go because at that time I still didn't believe in myself. I didn't think of myself as a good singer. I was really afraid to go on stage, so I'd been working as a DJ mostly. So this particular time it was like, well, here's an opportunity. It's 1985 and Hearsay did blow up. It did end up being huge. Going on the road with him was unreal. It was spectacular. Before we went on the road, we went to Minneapolis. Went to Minneapolis to rehearse. Wow. He was beyond courteous. While we were there rehearsing, he hung out. It was just one of us. But at the same time, he had this aura of star quality. And he took us around to meet everybody. We didn't meet Prince at the time, but we did have the opportunity to go into Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis's Flight Time studio at the time. The time was laying some tracks, I think. Well, definitely Morris Day and Jesse Johnson, all of those guys were there. Like when Alexander brought me and Ricky, that was the other girl, a Filipino girl from Toronto here, a singer, to Flight Time. Alex was like, he just acted like we were the greatest thing since, I don't know. He was so proud of us. And he was obviously, proud of himself, of course, because he knew he had a hit out. He knew he was the shit. So having the opportunity to go into Flight Time Studios while Morris Day and those guys were recording was just, it was surreal. It was surreal because we knew who Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis was from the Janet Jackson. SOS, their category was massive. So we knew if Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis had chosen somebody to be the next big thing, it was definitely going to be the next big thing. And it was just that. So we hung out in Minneapolis rehearsing. It's too bad. One thing I regret about us not having the internet back then is like it would have all been on film. Back then you had to like take pictures and wait a week. If you're lucky overnight, pay that extra money and get those pictures. And I had all those photos for years. But you know, life happens. I think my manager still has a lot of those, has all that photos, memorabilia and stuff. You know, and Alex invited us to his home to break bread with his family, meet his kids. It was just unbelievable. Sometimes we'd go out and we'd take taxis and there'd be music playing. I think one night it was like One Less Bell to Answer by Fifth Dimension, an old 70s song. And he asked, we got the taxi driver to crank it up, and I just started singing to the top of my lungs. He started singing, and this is the kind of person he is. He's like really, really, really folksy. I guess that's, you know, that can be expected, especially somebody he's from Natchez, Mississippi. So he was a homeboy, you know, Bloodstone. Like he was exactly what you see is what you get kind of guy. Plus all this incredible, incredible talent. You know, several times I posted him singing Luther Vandross's A House Is Not a Home. And with much due respect to Luther, like he just took that song to another level. So, you know, Alexander, you know, getting to know him was unreal and spectacular. So, you know, we rehearsed. He came in every day. We had lunch with him, hung out with him, laughed with him, you know, hung out with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis there at the studio. And then after, you know, the rehearsals were over, it was time to go to the first gig. We went over to the UK because I don't know why that market was chosen, but it was unreal. They were already on to Alexander ONeal by the time we got to the UK. Alexander was like, I mean, he won the Greatest Singer in the World award while he was there. So spent 7 nights. I think it was the Hammersmith Odeon. He sold out every night at the biggest stadium, the biggest gig there, Hammersmith Odeon, and everywhere we went, he sold out. Not only sold out, but there were places like, I remember Amsterdam, all sorts of gigs we went to with Alex, where he just, you know, it was total star life. Like he, you know, the groupies were waiting and he'd have to like send the fake limo in and then take the second or third limo because people were just mobbing him, crazy about him. We got invited to like all the A-list parties and with celebrities like, well, whoever, you know, during the 80s, during the time Alexander reigned supreme. And yeah, you know, went out shopping in the day. We obviously had to rehearse. Went out shopping in the daytime, you know, all over London, Brixton. We played all the main cities, all the main townships or whatever. I don't know what they call them over there. I guess cities in the UK. We played all the main cities. So, and it was the same everywhere. It was just, you know, once he got on the stage, it was just utter pandemonium. The fans were just crazy. There were times, again, like I was saying in Amsterdam, when he got on stage, we couldn't hear the monitors, we couldn't hear the band, nothing. He just went full tilt when he got on stage, bigger than life, and it was unreal. I mean, we were even stars with him. So, you know, whenever we would be out with him or ushered around the cities with him, we were treated like stars, and it actually freaked me out. Like, I'm just, a homegirl myself. Like, I've never wanted to be a star, you know, but and I never felt confident about singing, but for Alex to hire me, for me, it gave me justification. It said, well, you definitely have to be at least good, because, you're out here with this guy. It's just amazing. And there was one particular night at the Hammersmith Odeon where he asked me to do the duet with like Cheryl's duet with him, Never Knew Love Like This. And I couldn't. I tried, but I couldn't. I was just too in awe. I was just too in awe of Alexander ONeal. He'd bring this bed up on stage and pick somebody from the audience, and it was just like everything was A1. The hotel rooms we stayed in, Scotland, I think it was Scotland, the UK, some gigs in the States, Amsterdam, all over Europe. And to this day, he's still considered a star, a mega star, over in the UK. And I believe that's why he moved back there. It's like a star, not in the American sense, in that people want to know about his personal life. They just love his music. I just adored him. Just adored him. He was like, when I say gospel, I don't mean gospel in a church sense. It was just, this is how, in a lot of countries, this is the way artists are seen, as opposed to like America, where it's a lot of capitalism. In a lot of these places, music is like blood, your life, your gospel truth. Like people, the music is there's utter respect for the artist, and to this day, I'm sure they still see Alex as being, this amazing person that he is. And I know, you see him online sometimes. He comes up and says, hi guys. He starts out, hi guys. And he, whatever message he's bringing across, which generally is a positive message, always is a positive message, not generally, always a positive message. That's Alex. He's just a homeboy, just like that. But when it's time to hit that stage, he transforms from this homeboy into this mega star. Like, nobody, I don't know that, I've seen a lot of concerts, and I've worked with quite a few people, but I've never seen anybody hit a stage like that and go from being a balladeer to this to like a funkadelic type energy. He had everything, and I thought this is a perfect time now that he's coming out a lot and doing gigs, and people are sort of throwing back and remembering how great art was. Alexander being obviously one of those up there that you'd put up with the greatest singers, whether it's Nat King Cole or Otis Redding, Al Green, Marvin Gaye. Like, Alexander is that status. He took a long time off of out of the business, because it really is overwhelming. And I think a lot of that came from sort of the capitalism in America and the way he was perceived. It was very hard for him to live a normal life. It's very hard to live a normal life, to the extent where I went out on the first tour, the initial tour, but I didn't go back out again. I actually quit music for 2 years. It was that overwhelming, because I just didn't want that for me. It's not that I didn't like the acclaim that he had. I had utmost respect for the acclaim that Alexander ONeal has, and how people who know how great he is just adore him and give him his props. Give him his flowers now. Give him his flowers now. Look at this lopsided hair. But it's not easy. It's not an easy life. It's very, 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 very hard work. And so when I came home from the HEARSAY Tour, I was just burnt out. I was overwhelmed, and I just quit music, like I'm doing now, probably like I've done for years, because it's I never wanted that, and it's very hard to live in a fishbowl. It's very hard to live in a fishbowl, and that's exactly what it is when you are touring and out there that big. Is you don't have your own, you're not in control of your own personal, you have no personal life, whatsoever. And it's sort of like a form of incarceration, the way I felt was, after that. Shortly after that, there was, of course, the buzz around the city for me. Thank you, Alex, because, you certainly justified me when I came back here. I got 2 years later, I got a record deal with BMG. And I just, again, I left that. I did some writing and I got some credits, but I quit. And I moved to Vancouver. But again, there was so much, when you're established already, there's a demand to have you work with certain people. And when I got to Vancouver, it was Hollywood North at the time. Aaron Spelling had his lot there, so everybody who's anybody in the business was everywhere, in the streets, in the bars, working. Because of the terrain in Canada, they could go from, especially in BC, you could go from like the winter to the summer, like in the same day. So it became Hollywood North, and it became bigger than life there too. Again, in Canada, celebrities can just go to any bar and chill out. So it was the same there with Johnny Depp and all those guys, because at the time, 21 Jump Street was a really big show. So, those guys were there, and Harry Belafonte, everybody, Al De Niro, everybody was in the city, living just chilling completely. But still, for me, the possibility of becoming a megastar was, I knew I would not survive that, because that's not how I see art music. And I didn't want that for myself. I didn't choose music. I would have been a school teacher or a nun, to be honest. But I still give Alexander O'Neill and Jimmy Jam and Jerry Lewis and the Minneapolis crew mad props for being the best people I've ever met in the over 40 years that I've been in the business. I give Alexander O'Neill all the props. I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to start with him, because it was wonderful. It was amazing. The unfortunate thing is, after that, there would be a lot of opportunities presenting themselves, but people did not have the ethics that Alexander O'Neill has, and the morals. He's obviously well brought up, because he has a great deal of respect for himself and other people, and that's very rare to find in the arts and entertainment and sports field, particularly in America. All True Man, that song. That's Alex. That's Alexander O'Neill, through and through, all true man. One of the most beautiful human beings I've ever met. And Buddy Miles was like that too, though he had his wild moments. There were moments with him, but he always had the greatest deal of respect for me. I'm talking about Buddy Miles as well. There were quite a few others, but this here is really about Alexander O'Neill and how magnificent all of that was, Alex, and how much I thank you and bless you, bless your heart for letting me, for giving me that opportunity to go to come into the business with such other class, to see how it's really done. by a master yourself. Yeah. This video's running a little long, but I am leaving. I just need time out. But I could not leave without bigging up Alexander and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, thanking those guys for that incredible opportunity that I had to go out on the HEARSAY Tour and hang out with you guys in Minneapolis. It's really a blessing. Thank you, and God bless you all. Still the classiest man I've ever met. The guys over in Minneapolis. Anyhow, that's all for now. I'll talk to you guys later.